YouTube, welcome back. Thanks for checking out another episode. Welcome in. As in today's video, we start the process of getting you guys set for all of the matchups that lie ahead in Call of Duty Champs 2020 playoff bracket. I am so pumped if you guys can't tell already, but without further ado, let's go ahead and let's bring up this bracket and we'll start the process of looking at each of the matches for day one. If you're new to my channel, I take a super analytical approach to this, so we look at how teams are playing as of late, how they've played throughout the whole year. We look at their records, hardpoint, dom, search, what are they best at, what maps are they good at, all that stuff. So without further ado, bottom left hand corner, the first day's matchups are elimination round 1. So that's going to happen on Wednesday, August 19th. When you guys are watching this video, it is Tuesday, August 18th. So that's how it's going to work. If the matches are on Wednesday, you will get this video on Tuesday. If the matches are on Thursday, you will get this video on Wednesday, so on and so forth throughout the life of the entire tournament. So for today, and the big part about this is if you are a seed 9 through 12, you were placed in the bottom left-hand corner of this bracket, which is elimination round 1, which means if you lose, you go home, your tournament life is over. That's why all of these seeds were super important for all these teams, because if you're one of the top 8 seeds that's in the top part of this bracket up here, then if you lose, you go down to the losers bracket and you still have a chance at losers bracket run. If you're OPTIC, Gaming, Los Angeles, GUERRILLAS, the Paris Legion, or the Seattle Surge, if that happens to you and you lose, you're done. There's no more second chances. So that's why this is so important. But without further ado, the two matchups here, the first one is OGLA, so OPTIC Gaming Los Angeles versus Los Angeles GUERRILLAS. The second one is the Paris Legion versus the Seattle Surge. Let's go ahead and let's get you set for each of those matches. First one here that I want to talk about is Paris versus Seattle. So as we bring up this graphic here, first thing I want to do is just kind of talk about how they've played overall, because it's been a little while since we've seen a lot of these teams. So I want to make sure that we're up to date with how they did throughout the year and what game modes they are best at. So in the top left-hand corner, you can see two numbers up here that say 10 and 16. This is their overall record. So over the course of the year, they have won 10 matches. They have lost 16. A lot of those did come in the beginning of the year. We'll talk about all of that also. If we look down at this row underneath, you can see that this is their total win-loss for hardpoint. So they are 16 and 28 in hardpoint, which is actually their worst game mode. After that, they are 17 and 14 in search and destroy, which is their best game mode. And then they are 11 and 15 in dom, which gives them a win percentage of 42%. This is their second best game mode. The other thing that I wanted to show to you guys, and this is what's really important to me, is how they have played as of late, because you can go back to launch weekend and see what they did there and who they beat and whatever. But to me, that doesn't matter, because as of when it came to CDL New York, which was early July, that was the first event post the new meta. So the meta has changed. We've been running 1 AR, 4 SMGs for out 8 months, right? It's basically the entirety of the season. After that New York event, things switched up a little bit. So I'm not interested in what you did 8 events ago. It just, you're not playing that same game anymore. The game and the meta has changed. So how have you played as of late in that new meta? That's what I'm really focused on. So the 2 events that Paris played in that new meta, they were 1 and 2 at CDL New York. So again, New York is up here. You can see top left-hand corner, they were 1 and 2. They lost to Toronto. They beat LAG, and then they kind of got beat pretty handedly by Atlanta. After that, if we scroll down, when it came to CDL London, they were much better. They were 3 and 2. So they had a tough series there to start things off with Dallas, but then they beat LAG. They beat the New York Subliners. They beat the London Royal Ravens before finally falling in that final to the Dallas Empire. So when you're thinking as of late, over the course of the last 2 tournaments, they are 4 and 4 overall. 4 wins, 4 losses over the course of the last 2 tournaments. That's pretty good if you're considering where Paris stands in this matchup. Their opponent, on the other hand, let's look at what they've done overall. So if we're thinking about the Seattle Surge, top left-hand corner, they are 5 and 18 over the course of the season. So 5 wins, 18 losses. Looking at hard points, they are 13 and 27. So they are basically double negative. 13 wins, 27 losses in hard points. Not too much goes their way on this map and mode. If we're looking at search and destroy, they are 8 and 22. again, not very good when you're looking at their overall rating. But the crazy thing is that they are 13-10 when it comes to domination. For whatever reason, they play domination much better than the other two game modes, including a 7-1 record when it comes to Gunrunner. So, is there a route here for Seattle to gain a victory? There certainly is. If they get Gunrunner Dom, which if I'm Paris, that's the very first thing that I veto because it's by far their best maps and modes, but overall, they'd have to pick up a hardpoint win, pick up a search win. There's a long road ahead of them, right? If we're looking at how they've played as of late, the last couple tournaments, London, 0-2. They lost to London Royal Ravens, lost to OGLA, they were out. As CDL Toronto, they lost to Chicago, lost to OGLA, they are out. So when you're comparing what these two teams have done as of late, Paris is 4-4 in their last two events post the new meta. Seattle is 0-4 in their last two events with the new meta. To me, this is just a clear-cut picture for who's going to win this first matchup. I take Paris, and I'm moving them on into elimination round 2. They will play the winners of London versus Toronto, but that video is for another day. So Seattle, you're gone. Paris, you're moving on. After that, we have OGLA versus LAG. So again, I want to go through and I want to look at both of those stats. When it comes to OGLA, they are 10-17 on the season. Not great, but they did have some pretty good runs there towards the middle. They made a grand final against the Atlanta FaZe, which they did end up losing. But if we look at their stats overall, in Hardpoint, they are 22-23 overall, basically 500. In Search and Destroy, they are 15-20. And then in Domination, they are 12-15. Now, the big thing about these stats is that a lot of these map records come from a time when they had a different roster. We've seen as of late how good OGLA is with the additions of Draza and Hollow. So if we look at their last two events, which was CDL London and CDL Toronto, when it came to London, they were 1-2 overall. They gave Florida all that they could handle in that first matchup before losing 3-2 in around 11. Then they went on to beat Seattle, and then they lost to Florida again. So their two losses at CDL London was against one of the best teams in the league. And in one of those matchups, they played them super tight. So really impressive loss there. And when you look down at their next event, which was CDL Toronto, they were 2-2 overall. In that very first matchup, they ended up losing again in map 5 to the Toronto Ultra, who went on to win that event. Then they beat Seattle. They did knock out the Chicago Huntsmen. That was a huge matchup for both of these teams, but a really impressive win out of OGLA. And then they did end up falling in the semifinal to the Atlanta FaZe, but pretty impressive matches overall over the course of their last two tournaments. They are 3-4 match count in the last two tournaments that they have played. To me, that is a pretty good record moving forward. It's not stellar. It's not what you'd see out of Dallas or Atlanta, but it's pretty good. If we look at our other side here, they're going to be playing LAG, top left-hand corner. LAG is 5-17 over the course of the entire year. If we're looking at each of their records in Hardpoint, they are 12-27. In Search, we all know that they play pretty well in Search. They are 16-13, but when it comes to domination, they are the worst domination team in the game with a record of 3-19. So if you're LAG, you have to take control in those searches, right? Their route to victory is to win both of those search matchups and try to steal a hard point because they're probably not going to get it done when it comes to domination. Now, very similarly to what we saw with Seattle, as we look at their last two events at CDL New York, which was post the new patch meta that we've been talking about, they were 0-2, got beat by Atlanta, got beat by Paris. At CDL London, which was the last event that they played, they were 0-2, got beat by New York Subliners, got beat by the Paris Legion, they went home. So as of late, you can see that OGLA's record looks much better with how they've performed as of late than Los Angeles Guerrillas, which is why I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move OGLA into elimination round 2. Unfortunately for LAG and Seattle, their road has ended. They are going to end up going home. So this is what I have for my predictions for day 1 of the Call of Duty League 2020 Champs Playoffs bracket. I am so pumped for this. Let me know down below who you guys think are going to win these two matchups. The next day, we're going to go ahead, we're going to lay out what is happening on Thursday, August 20th, which is the New York Subliners versus the Minnesota Rocker, the London Royal Ravens versus the Toronto Ultra. So with that, guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you are here. I am your one-stop shop for every single matchup prediction, getting you guys set for Call of Duty Champs 2020. Thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. Leave a like, comment down below. Who do you think is going to end up winning these matchups? And with that, we will see you in tomorrow's upload.